right, I think we're about to ready to start. I'm gonna close the door so nobody else gets in. Thanks a lot for showing up. Some familiar faces and some new ones, so good to see you. I will do a little presentation on some of the experiences we have on handling retail-oriented commerce. So combination of doing online, brick and mortar, chains-oriented, commerce-oriented things. So taking the perspective of going from consumers and business point of view and discussing how we could match that towards the architecture of Order Cloud. So going to be a little bit technical, but taking it from the perspective of processes and how you actually need what you need to actually run the business side of things. My name is Klaus. I am CTO of Alpha Solutions. I'm based in Copenhagen. I worked with Sitecore for the majority of my professional life. So I've been around here, the block, maybe 615 times, something like that. If you have questions after the session, find me on whatever. Up here, I'm not the biggest tweeter, so that's probably the worst place to find me. Or Exa, or whatever you call those guys now. But hit me on all of the other and most of the community-based digital tools I'm on constantly. We do. Oh, I didn't change that headline. You could have told me that, Karen. We work in e-commerce on a number of different platforms and have been doing Sitecore for so long. So I think I've implemented like every breed of Sitecore-based e-commerce that there ever were. Anyone have a guess of how many different e-commerce platforms Sitecore brought to the market? I counted 7 official ones from them, but I might miss one as well. There was the first one was actually had 2 different naming. They bought one from a partner company and rebranded as Standard Commerce, I think, and partnered with Insight for enterprise commerce and bought some new stuff and built some things and a ton of different things. I think I touched all of them during my career, so I have a pretty good experience on those things. I'll be talking a little into the retail subject, what we'll be discussing, how Order Cloud fits into some of those pictures, and some of the considerations that you need to do when you want to go retail-oriented commerce and actually cater for your clients. So what is it that actually drives retail and commerce nowadays? The largest competition from retailers is definitely the online retailers, the pure players, the Boost, the Asos, the Amazons, the Temu, the whatever, pick your new Chinese website. That's the largest challenge for most retailers to actually compete against. It's all about assortment and it's about price, especially from some of them. Amazon is not necessarily cheap, but you can buy anything. And very few retailers have the chance to do that. Of course, the changing consumer behavior of researching online, even if you buy offline. But that being a challenge, of course, can be a breaking point as well for them and doing that. The balancing what you call the showrooming and the online traffic generation. So you not ending up being a showroom for Amazon or Temu, because if you are brand-oriented retailer, meaning you sell a well-known brand, Levi's, great example, go find your size and order it online, save 23% of the price. But they still need to leverage that they are physical and in your neighborhood. So how can we actually balance those couple of things? And of course, inventory is one of the challenges for them as well. One of the challenges, especially in fast-moving fashion, is so where you build by season, you have collections, classical 4 seasons a year, spring, summer, fall, winter. Fast-moving fashion, you have 12 collections a year. Every month, a new collection. Of course, some of the Chinese ones, it's a new day, a new collection. But one of the issues, especially in the classical fashion, is that when you're about 40 to 60% time-wise into your collection, you should not have anything available for online purchase anymore in your central warehouse, because nothing would be out hanging in the retail stores there. So it's balancing that you need physical products in your stores on high street, but you still need to support your online commerce channel. So how can we actually try to balance that? So, and of course, Sitecore has the answer for it. So omnichannel presence, definitely one of the solutions for it. Stole a single slide from Sitecore. Order Cloud does have a lot of those capabilities that can help you drive an e-commerce for online and physical presence. So, and what I want to go through and discuss with you is some of the practical examples and processes that you need to support, and how that maps into how Order Cloud actually works with the underlying data model and the underlying entities that is handled by that. One of the elements of it is that in retail, when we have high street as well as omni, it's important that we utilize the advantage of multiple touch points. It's the thing we have that Temu doesn't have. I do have more touch points. I have more visibility for my products with different types of natures. So how can we actually leverage that? The other thing is, of course, enabling a better customer experience based on that. All right. Some of you, if you looked into Order Cloud, will recognize some of these terms and things that comes out. Let me quickly go through some of the elements on it. Could use a little bit sharper lighting on that monitor. Up here on the left-hand side, we have this classical stack of products that is categorized into categories that sits into catalogs. 3 terms that the ones of you who have looked into Order Cloud would recognize as entities in Order Cloud. The second level here is the inventory, the pricing, and the promotions. So the dynamic elements on top of our catalog and the products in it. Things that exist in Order Cloud as well. In a number of solutions, Order Cloud might not be the driving factor of it, depending on what you do. If you have a very fast-moving inventory, you might want to utilize your warehouse management system as the core of it. But Order Cloud has facilities to do it, and then you figure out whether the strategy is to utilize and replicate inventory into your Order Cloud, or you call out using the middleware of Order Cloud into your own warehouse system. Price schedules and pricing around products. We most often tend to use Order Cloud for doing that, of course, often based on synchronization, depending a little bit on how retail run their stores. Most of them have POSs that is closely hooked to their ERP systems. So pricing might come out of the ERP. And few more modern ones runs on more lightweight POSs that might be connected directly to an e-commerce store. There are providers of POS solutions that instead of having the classical approach of running a retail operation based on ERP, they run a retail operation based on e-commerce. Because e-commerce has that distribution and lightweight integration that is often a lot easier to work with than ERP-based integration. Promotions and coupons. Order Cloud has an offering in that as well. There are more advanced platforms for handling that, especially if you move into lifetime loyalty programs. So where the promotional activity is based on accumulating points, lifetime of points, things like that, where you get an underlying mechanism of earns and burns. Order Cloud doesn't really have anything to support that, so you often integrate alternative promotional platforms if you want to do that. But say the base offering of what Order Cloud has in the box is quite good at, say, classical order or product or customer oriented, say one-off promotions where the promotion can be fully calculated based on the basket that you're doing at the moment. Let's move over here to what in Order Cloud is called suppliers. In a retail setup, that would be your stores. You would normally model your retail organization around having a separate supplier for separate store, because suppliers can have separate inventory. Suppliers can have specific promotions for it. So you can run local promotions in your local store. That's not necessarily applicable to an online order as well, or to other stores. That's part of the model that Order Cloud supports out of the box. So pretty powerful features. The pricing, same goes for that. You can override pricing on a store level as well if you use suppliers for modeling. We sometimes use multiple storefronts. Normally we would see 2 storefronts. Can have more if we have more specific purchasing scenarios. But in a retail scenario, your online commerce might be one type of storefront, and a POS system might be a different type of storefront. It might not be something that you necessarily create yourself. You can buy POSs that integrate with the e-commerce platforms, as I said. But we also have customers where the POS requirements were so lightweight that we just did it based on a web application instead of integrating that towards payment services and so on. So you actually it's just a secondary storefront that runs directly on top of the Order Cloud APIs. Then, of course, we come into the orders. We also have a concept called user groups. As many of you might know, Order Cloud comes out of B2B processing, where user groups has heavy involvement, part of being a account contact type of structure. So you have a client with purchasing users. In a retail B2C scenario, you don't see it that often, but sometimes modeling loyalty tiers can be done using that, using the user groups as well. But it depends a little bit what it does. Sometimes buying organizations might be a better thing than that, which is another thing that Order Cloud actually has. So let's go through a couple of scenarios that we want to support. So from a customer perspective, what is it that I want to accomplish? What is it that retail wants to offer to their customers? This one is pretty simple. We did that a couple of 100 years ago as well. So I go to a physical store. I see a product on the shelf, ask for it, pay for it, and walk out the store and have it. Classical POS-based orientation. Not a lot of things, not a lot of of specialties to it, but so of course easily supported. If you do inventory in Order Cloud, you would decrease inventory based in the relation in the shop down here, but else everything pretty simple. The other very simple scenario online, similar. Not a lot of difference in that online order. The only on how I do freighting, because now we get into some more scenarios where freight actually might be something different. Modern e-commerce retail scenarios, of course, often comes into picking up and not having inventory in the store you walk in at. Have it in central warehouse. I'll pick it up after work when I got it shipped. So the challenge here is, of course, that from an Order Cloud perspective, we start to having an order from a customer to a store, but it actually generates an order from central warehouse to the store. So we need to figure out how we want to do that. Often the freight of shipping from central to store, it's not something I want to pay for. I went into the store, I pick it up in the store, I don't care. Same, but different. I might walk into store close to work, not in store, don't have it on inventory there, have it in central. I'm going home for the weekend, go to the summer house, but there is a store close to the summer house. I'll pick it up tomorrow, but I want to pick it up close to the summer house. So not the store where I'm actually ordered it, not the inventory location where it is at hand, but the third. So we have now 3 different entities of the suppliers in here. So now all of the retailers start discussing internally. Okay, who pays for the freight? Is it the one where I walk in? Is it central? Is it the one that actually gets the sale? How do we split the revenue? So who pays or who gets the money? Somebody who has the cost of the product. Here it's still in central. So it's probably the central organization who paid for the product. They need to have some. What do I get for actually getting me in the store? And what do I get for the hassle of handing it over to you when you come tomorrow and pick it up? So that's internal discussions, but that of course needs to be reflected on all of these orders that needs to be created, because now I take an order in my store. I don't deliver anything for it. I just take the order. Is it then transferred to the pickup store, or is it transferred to headquarters? And how do we eventually split and create new orders for it? So in these scenarios, you start seeing a number of new things being created in Order Cloud. I'll get back to that in a second. I'll just take a few more scenarios before we start discussing some of the flows that we see there. Same scenario as the other one, a little bit simpler on it. Buy online, pick up in store. If the store has, if the store has stock, not a big problem. You can just pick it up. Of course, who takes the revenue? Normally, we would see online doing it. The actual pickup of it is normally not something that we do. Some of the things we see down here in all of those scenarios that comes beyond the 2 first simple ones, we start seeing ordering being forwarded down here across a number of these elements. So we often see multiple orders, but we still need to take care of how do we correctly calculate daily order volumes for the group, for a single store, so that we actually can tell so we don't triple the revenue when I need to create 3 orders, because the value of it might not be very high. Sometimes you work with negative orders, so you might create 5 orders, 3 positives of the full value, and then negative orders that actually takes the part that I don't get and assign to someone else. But so there's different strategies in how you can handle that on that end. This one is also interesting as well. If I do a click and collect, I want to pick it up close to work. They don't have it in stock, generating the order for it. We'll forward it. Normally, this one is the discussion point. Who gets the money for it? What's it worth to handing it out? Most of our clients in those scenarios say the value of handing it out needs to be that you get them in the store and can upsell. So most work with, you can say, revenue being assigned to online in those scenarios, because it's up to the store clerk then to actually sell the extra belt or to add on to the order, because now they have them walk into the store and actually be there. That's normally what they do there. One of the things down here, this scenario is a good one for one of the situations we get in these elements, and if we went in, I cut that out. If we went into returns, it would even explode even more. But we often can see different scenarios where authorization and payment happens in one in online, one in physical store, where you might have a different terminal. So for all of these retail chains, the first thing we look at when we go in and offer them a new e-commerce implementation is actually to try to align the payment infrastructure, both physical and online. So you use actually the same provider, because most of the providers that does both physical and online, you can actually refund a transaction done online on one of the physical terminals, giving money back to the card, or reverse. If you take money on the card in the store, I can refund it using the online payment gateways as well. So having a payment on infrastructure that supports that, because then you can actually do the real transactions and revert the real transactions and not take all money and refund money back. You get into a lot of complications of reservations that is hanging on clients' cards and things like that if you need to do multiple transactions on the cards. A couple of considerations on this whole order forwarding, order duplication. When do we take the order that I put in one store, so at one supplier in Order Cloud terms? When do I rewrite the owner ID to another supplier, so I forward the order to be handled by someone else? And when do we duplicate the order? So we finalize the order that I put into the store, eventually with part payment or whatever, creating something, and then duplicate the order to be fulfilled by someone else as well. The thinking we normally have it is that if the revenue follows the order fulfillment, so that the one originally taking the order is not really getting any revenue from it, we would normally forward the order, so it just follows the revenue streaming. But if you split the revenue, so you get part of the order value for taking it and part of the order value of supplying it, we would duplicate the order and then do either subtractions on costs on it, or do internal ordering between the stores of the delta amounts that needs to go to someone else. So, but that's definitely something you need to consider. It's one of the issues of having a flexible platform like Order Cloud, because you can do any combination of those things, but it really changes how your BI tooling works on top of it, how your ERP integration needs to work, because you might have the same order in multiple entities, but it is actually just the same fulfillment. Inventory is another consideration to do when you're following that. It's a lot of more simple platforms than Order Cloud only has one way of doing it, because order forwarding might not be something you can do, but you can actually in Order Cloud take the ownership of the order and move it between the buying entities, because it's just a floating thing like any other entity in Order Cloud. This is an example of what we would normally do in the duplication. One order is actually placed between the buyer and the store that I go and order to, whether that is could eventually be the supplier. If it then needs to be shipped from headquarters, another order is created, which is ordered by the entity needing it, so the store that did not have it in stock, and supplied, so the order is owned by the one supplying it. Might be headquarters or might be a different store that has it, because headquarters might not have it as well. And the model is actually supporting a full floating inventory. One of the great things of Order Cloud as well is that if you look across ownership of inventory records, you can get a full picture of what your group can supply. So if you want to do real, the real endless aisle type of functionality, meaning I don't care where it is, if we have it anywhere, I'll sell it anywhere. So real endless aisle, no questions asked. We'll make sure you get it in the location you want it, and you can order it in the location you want it. We'll take care. It drives some costs on the freighting and the order forwarding, and a lot of discussions between store owners on who is actually getting money for what, and what is it worth to carry the product for potentially months, having it hanging on rack, having money tied up to it, especially if you go into a franchise model. So not full capital ownership, it's same box of money, it's just different stores, is one way. We have clients as well where they have a mix of fully owned stores and a mix of franchise stores, where different money, different ownership, different capital in it. And then it becomes completely tricky on when do we actually pay for orders, and what value do we generate by having it on store, because I might have seen it in store when it was in stock, but I don't have it anymore, but I had it, so I invested in actually getting the lead generated. So that's some of the fun discussions we have. But from an Order Cloud perspective, the result of those business type of discussions drives how you should map your generation of entities in orders, inventory, and so on. If you transfer products from central to store, is it an order cell, or is it just an inventory record that changes ownership? It's one if you're a franchise. It's an order if you're a franchise, because they normally pay for it when they get it in store. If it's fully ownership, it's just hanging in a different location now, so it's just an inventory record transfer instead. So different scenarios that you should consider when approaching. I have a few more of these scenarios. Of course, leveling up the complexity from a supplier point of view. So now we have the situation where I walk into a store, I can get some of the things that I want here, and some of the things I can't. This example I created as I can get some at my work, and I can get some at home. So they have it locally in stock, and I can still make my party tonight and have a shirt on and pants. Quite successful. So in that case, the revenue discussion gets higher. What if it's the belt that I can get in the store where I order it? I order for 500 euros of fashion and get the belt from the store where I captured a 500 euro worth of order, and then the 480 of them is supplied by a different store. Who did the work? So those discussions, of course, gets in, especially in these split orders where should it just be carried with whomever supplies gets the money for whatever they supply? Yeah, that's often a starting point for the discussions until we exemplify by those accessory types of sales and stuff like that. The value generation might not follow the stock supply. So it's always a little bit interesting when doing that. We always do duplication, those split orders. You need to create 2 orders to manage the inventory on that. I think I had one where there was a little more interesting. This is same one, just delivery at home instead of picking up in store. This one similar to the other one, but an extra area, but interesting. Some of the things I didn't mention, it's on the deck, but I won't go spend too much time on it. 2 of the considerations that we always do as well, I'll just mention on this one. How do you generate receipts? Physical, if you're in store, some people have expectations of walking away with a printed receipt. But for what? For the things I got or the things that I ordered, or that's always a consideration. A lot easier if you just get them digital, put them online. It's not as big as a headline, and luckily most offer that as well. But that is one of the considerations always to do when you do these duplications and forwarding. Where do you get, if you have a physical is involved, where do you actually get that? And the other one is, of course, how do you tie customer notifications into the experience? Because online, we are pretty used to doing track and trace notifications, order flow steps, confirming your order. Now we put it in postal and so on. Physical doesn't really, they're used to just, hey, I'll deliver it whenever you go into the store and you walk out with it. But when can we confirm the order if it's not available in the store? Do I trust my inventory records, or is there another customer in the store that is next to the POS creating the order for the last of the ones that they had? Do we need it confirmed? All of those things. I'll just jump that one. I think I saw Anna was starting to hassle me on timing, so you can delve into some of the details of the other slides. The mentality and the considerations are the same. And I tried to give you some indications of some of the thinking you need to do on the different perspectives that drives an operational approach towards e-commerce in those scenarios. One of the things that taking the example of in-store pickup, one of the things that's a huge advantage of working with Order Cloud is, of course, the API first approach to it. We created an app used in stores. So that whole, how do we manage the process of making sure that we can confirm an order? We eventually can ship an order if we do shipping from other stores. So inventory in stores can be sent home because I don't have anything in central warehouse. It's normally more expensive. So it is a priority for our clients to discuss, is it worth it? Because shipping from multiple locations is in the Nordics, where we've done it the most, it is a huge difference in shipping cost. Working with the shipping providers, picking up in individual stores compared to taking a truck to a central warehouse and shipping off that. So some of the elements that we have a consideration of in that is there's processes for confirmation, meaning instant notification. I order it, another store online, doesn't really matter. Make sure that we can confirm the order. Go take it from the rack, put it in the back room. I have it. I'm sure I can deliver it to you when you get there. That instant notification is a pretty simple operation. We normally use XP fields on the orders to indicate order status for each of the order lines that that can be picked if we have the multi-store pickup situation. One challenge in it can be that I need shirt both for me and my son, but only one. They're at hand different stores. It's the same size. So rolling up, meaning having quantity of 2 on one order line, might not be right because they might be in 2 different stores. So how do I know that I actually served one and the other? So considerations of the quantity roll up is not always the right way to create an order if you have scenarios like that. The other scenario, I'll just move on to this one. The other scenario is, of course, the picking. So we confirmed the order, but then I need to, end of day or whenever there is time, no customers in store, I need to do an operation which takes a bit longer. Packing it down, doing shipping, capturing the money, making sure that it's ready for pickup by production. For us, we normally see that as a different operation. We normally do user assignment. So if there are multiple store assistants doing the work, saying, hey, I'll take care of this one now. So even though that they might have each a device with the application running on it, I can assign it to me and walk on. We use the suppliers as stores, so when the clerks log in, they only see orders from specific stores. We have had a few discussions of using it as a central warehouse, pick and pack things, but normally the quantities are so big, you need more efficient tools to do that. Handheld device is normally not the right thing to do that. You would need things like pickup routing. So in a warehouse, it would be nice that I can walk around and get the items in the order where they're actually located. So locations, warehouse locations, things like that. Knowing the layout is things that you normally comes from more advanced warehouse management. So doing that, modeling that in Order Cloud, not as easy a treat as the rest of it. And now we have the 16 scenarios for returns as well. Return in store, return online. You up for it? No, Anna says I can't. No, I anticipated that time would be running, so we could repeat all of the same considerations for how do we do returns. The caveat on top of it, just to make things a little more tricky, is time-based promotions. So what money do I get back if we have a 3 for 2 sale this week? Next week, I'll return one of them. And who pays the money for it? So that's a whole other scenario. We can do that at one other time. But it's a good consideration to walk through if you have customers with these resale-oriented scenarios. It's actually good considerations to do early on, including all of the return scenarios on it, because it drives complexity in how to handle things. It drives complexity of, do I need to be able to, when I calculate a basket value, so what's the price of the order? It's not necessarily now that's the right time to indicate as the basket calculation time. If I return something, it should be calculated at the point in time where I bought it. So campaigns that were active at that point in time should be applied, not the ones that's actually active at the moment where I return. So different scenarios in that. I'm lucky. I got a green 5 minutes for questions. So anything, just shoot. I know I'm the one keeping you from the bar. Shoot. Yeah. you can, what we do the order forwarding by you can say referencing the old order on a duplicate. So changing the order ID, you can say the owner ID of it. We discussed it with the team and hope to get the ability. I think, not sure that it came out recently, the rewriting of the order ID, and else it's reference order duplication with a reference to the old order, so your BI can cross calculate and only take one of them at it. So all of the trickiness is in it. Most of the entities nowadays can change owner ID of it. I thought they did it on orders as well. We discussed with it a few times. Sure. Yeah, there's you can say two mechanisms that we could use. Either you use order stating, meaning putting it in a cancel state, but all of your reporting then of course needs to be aware that canceled orders shouldn't be taken. Sometimes we use the flag of, you can say, overriding order, so creating a new order with an XP indicating that we override this order number, and that's the flag for it. And sometimes we create credit orders. So if the shop has an order of 200 pounds, we'll create an order of minus 200 pounds to make sure that everything works fine. So a couple of different strategies where depends a little bit on the transparency of what reporting should be able to tell you. So it's normally that drives the decision out on how to implement. Cool. Other questions? Go drink a beer. Anna's paying.